Welcome back to Making Hay with Alden Chodash of AldenBoxing.com. Alden, we're going to discuss some of the upcoming fights in the second half of 2007. First up, what's your opinion on Jermaine Taylor taking on Kelly Pavlik?
I mean, there's two ways to look at that fight. They're both, especially Jermaine Taylor, he's a sloppy fighter. Kelly Pavlik, he's not the most technically sound fighter as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how they combust and combine when they fight each other. It could be their sloppy styles could combine to make a great fight, or it could combine and combust not so great, and it could turn into a clinch fest, as has Jermaine Taylor's fight with Corey Spinks. But I'm expecting a pretty good fight. I'm expecting Pavlik to slowly press the fight, and I'm actually expecting an upset.
Really?
On points. A very close fight, however.
Pavlik over Taylor.
Yeah.
So I'm one who, and I think you know this, that I think that Taylor fights to the level of his competition. I know that's a cliche, but it seems to be true. Beats Bernard Hopkins twice, and you don't think he's going to have enough to beat Kelly Pavlik, though?
Styles make fights, and this is he does fight to the level of his opposition, but this is a totally different style than he's faced in Bernard Hopkins. And Hopkins is the better fighter compared to Kelly Pavlik, but I think Pavlik's style is going to crack and snap Jermaine Taylor's reign.
Why?
He's just too big, and a lot of fighters have been able to push Jermaine Taylor back, including smaller guys like junior middleweights Kasim Uma and Winky Wright. And he's going to push Taylor back, and he's got the physical attributes to do so.
And also cause damage, you're saying?
Yeah, not enough to score a knockout. Jermaine Taylor's just a gutsy guy, and he can take a good punch.
Okay. Major fight in Europe coming up soon. Joe Calzaghe versus Mikkel Kessler. What side do you want?
It's such an even matchup that you just got to go with experience on this occasion. Joe Calzaghe has proved himself. Kessler has as well, but not against the opposition that Calzaghe has.
Okay, so you're saying Calzaghe points over Kessler?
Yeah, extremely close as well.
Close one. Okay, moving on. Manny Pacquiao, Marco Antonio Barrera. Can Marco turn the tables this time?
At first glance, you look at this as a mismatch. Pacquiao destroyed him 4 years ago. He's gotten better, obviously. As a result of the 3 fights with Morales, we know he's gotten better. And Barrera's coming off a loss, so at first glance, you think Pacquiao's going to destroy him. But it's a similar situation going into this fight for Barrera than it was going into the Naseem Hamed fight. Both extremely strong, heralded southpaws, and Barrera just fought to the level of his opposition in a major way and scored a huge upset. But this time I don't think it's the case. Pacquiao is not Hamed, and Pacquiao is going to overwhelm Barrera, and I think he's going to win on points. I think Barrera's going to make it through it this time.
So once again, another old cliche, great fighters always have one last great fight in them. You don't see that being the case with Barrera as far as pulling off the upset.
Well, Pacquiao's a great fighter, and he's on the end of his career, so why can't he pull another great fight?
Do you see him at the end of his career, or Pacquiao still has some great performances left in him?
I think Pacquiao is towards the end of his career. He has 40-plus fights, and if after the Barrera fight, I think it's going to definitely be Marquez. That's the most logical fight, and the most logical fight to finish Pacquiao's legendary career.
Okay, so you're saying should go the distance this time, but once again, Pacquiao over Barrera. That's what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, you've been quoted as saying recently that Ricky Hatton, the hitman, has absolutely no chance against Floyd Mayweather. Do you still feel that way, and can you expand on it? Ricky Hatton, any chance against Floyd?
His best chance would be in the early rounds with his speed. Mayweather's just the kind of guy that drops a couple, or at least Ricky Hatton, a couple at most, to guys in the early rounds. Just has to figure them out. And when he does figure Hatton out, it's going to be a brutal mismatch. Middle and late rounds, I can't really see Hatton getting out of the fight with the kind of cuts and bruises he's going to endure. I think it's going to be stopped on a cut.
So you're saying Floyd will stop it early, middle to late rounds?
Late rounds. He's just gonna beat Hatton up and bust him up.
Okay. Just quickly, a couple more. First of all, David Tua has been on a roll lately. Do you see David Tua being a factor again in the heavyweight division?
He's been on a roll, but against two. Maurice Wheeler gave him some trouble, not a lot, but just consider it's Maurice Wheeler, and Tua got him out late. He still gets these guys out late. That's what built his reputation. Starting slow early and building up the pressure and stopping guys late. But he's increasingly unimpressive in these recent performances. And until I see him fight somebody of class, I can't really make an opinion. But I say no.
You say no. And so with Oleg Moskev pulling out of his fight with Sam Peter, let's say theoretically David Tua steps in. Do you give him a chance against Sam Peter?
No way. Sam Peter is just as strong as David Tua was on his best day, and he's a better boxer. He's improving. I think Tua is going on the downslide, and he destroyed Tua. Tua would probably be seeing his first knockout defeat in his whole career.
And you see the size as being too much for Tua to overcome?
Yeah,
the size of Sam
I view that as a dreadful mismatch, and I don't think it's going to happen here.
Okay. Well, just theoretically. And finally, on fights that are upcoming, what's your opinion on Juan Manuel Marquez, Rocky Juarez?
It's not a great matchup, but
Why do you say
I
that?
just see it as a simple victory for Juan Manuel Marquez. I mean, Rocky Juarez, as he proved against Peru, you can't really look great against him, the exception of maybe Humberto Soto, but I think Juarez has learned a few tricks since his 2 fights with Marco Antonio Barrera, and Juan Manuel Marquez doesn't look good in every fight. He looks good against guys that make mistakes, make flaws, and I think he's not going to have an easy time picking through the defense of Juarez, but he's going to have an easy time overall. He's going to win the decision.
You say he's going to win a great majority of the rounds.
Yeah, he's just not going to have an easy time looking good with Juarez's just tight defense and unwillingness to open up at all.
Okay. And finally, in our Stars of the Future segment, 2 young prospects from the Manny Stewart camp. Who do you think is going to rise to the top quicker, Andy Lee or Jonathan Banks?
Both have been, especially Jonathan Banks, have been somewhat inactive, but Lee's an awkward southpaw, and he's got a little bit of a punch. He knocked out Carl Daniels out with 1 punch, like Daniels has never ever been knocked out. And Daniels was coming off a few fights where he went the distance, against the chin checkers, Stevens and Cottington. He's a good puncher. He's definitely a good puncher, and he's awkward. He's still developing. I don't think he's going to become a big name in about 5 years from now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's a champion. Banks is more experienced, and he's fought better opposition, and he's knocked out Eliseo Castillo. An exceptionally good Cuban boxer who scored a big victory over Michael Moore a few years ago, and fought Vladimir Klitschko. He was on the verge of a knockout, and Banks showed a lot of heart and a lot of grit in coming back after nearly being out cold against the Cuban veteran, to knock him out in the 4th round, which was a huge shock to me.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Alden, for your opinion.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you soon with the next installment of Making Hay with Alden Chodash. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.